Next up, we have a speaker that is not at all unpopular, unknown on this island. He is a professor, doctor, and a native Aruban-born. He has a full academic professorship in innovation economics at the University of Aruba, and he was the founding dean of the Faculty of Tourism and International Business. He was previously the director of the Innovation Management Research Center, also in Spain. He holds a PhD in economics and governance from the Tilburg University of the Netherlands. And over the past 2 decades, Professor Dr. Ryan Peterson has dedicated his business and scientific career at researching and developing institutional capabilities for sustainable innovation across several corporations, across several continents and countries, with a specific interest in small island states. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome one of Aruba's own, Professor Dr. Ryan Peterson.
Good morning. Buen dia. How's everybody doing this morning? All hyped up because of TEDx? Binnenhof? Well, that's exactly what I want to speak to you about. I'm going to be talking about searching for sustainability, from value to values. And I just have a short story to share with you. It's a story about Ted. Ted the Seagull. About 4 years ago, Ted was born. And Ted had a big left foot. So while all the other seagulls could fly and soar in the skies, poor little Ted, because of his big foot, and as you know, seagulls have webs, right? They got 3 talons, or 3 toes actually, and their feet are webbed. But because Ted had this big left foot, he couldn't fly up in the air. He was always dragging along. So poor Ted could never ever fly high up in the ocean. He was always flying slightly a bit lower, right over the ocean. Now, for a long time, that made a lot of sense for the seagulls, who kind of laughed at him. You know, seagulls are loud, so, and Aruba has laughing seagulls, by the way. We have laughing gulls. Ain't that funny for one happy island with laughing gulls? That's basically nature telling us, guys, be happy, smile, laugh, enjoy life. Anyway, getting back to my seagull story, at a certain moment, seagulls are omnivores. They eat everything. They're loud, they're noisy. Just like human beings. Humanity. Loud, noisy, always eating. And for seagulls, the ocean was always infinite. They would explore and explore and explore until they went so deep into the ocean and so far across the ocean that, as you know, the ocean gets slightly rougher as we move along and the waves get slightly bigger. And the poor seagulls could not dive anymore because the ocean was so rough. Little Ted said, no, I'm going to fly along with the other seagulls. So Ted flew around. And guess what happened to Ted one day while he was flying around on the rough ocean? Something happened to Ted. I know one of our ministers is guessing right now what happened to Ted. Sorry? He was not eaten by a whale. Good guess, good guess. Anyone else? What happened to Ted with a big wave? What happens when you fly across the ocean so low and there's a big wave? What happens? You get engulfed by the wave. Suddenly, Ted found himself no longer flying, but swimming underwater, because as you know, seagulls dive to catch the fish, right? Guess what Ted discovered? He could swim. And because he had one left foot that was bigger with bigger webs than the other seagulls, he could swim faster, deeper. Now, up until that moment, Ted was ridiculed as being, nah. Used to call him tumbler. You know why? Because he would tumble because he couldn't walk. But because he tumbled into the ocean, Ted could dive deeper, catch more fish, and became a hero in his society, in his community. Now, what does that have to do with TEDx Binnenhof? Any idea? Adaptability. Yes. See, just like, as I said before, just like seagulls, humanity tends to think nature is infinite. We're loud, we're noisy, and there's something called the seagull theory of sustainability. You know what that is? We fly in with technology, we fix the problem really quickly, We pray to God it works, and then we run off again, only to realize, oops, there is no quick technological fix to the problem. So while we scour the oceans and we travel afar, the deeper solutions often, ladies and gentlemen, lie beneath the surface. There is no quick technology fix for our challenges as humanity, as society. Remember the 1980s and the 1990s when information technology came along? Susie is looking at me right now saying, oh my God, where's he going with this? Remember how it promised to make our lives easier? It would automate our processes and we would have more time. What's your biggest challenge nowadays? Time. Technology was supposed to rid us from time, but we've got engulfed in time. Even so that the old saying still applies today, an apple a day keeps a duck away. Now, while an apple might have referred to fruit before, nowadays, you take away somebody's apple, crazy stuff can happen. Now, last year, an engineer, an economist, a psychologist, and an environmentalist came together. Quite an odd bunch, I must say. Imagine what can happen when you put an economist, an environmentalist, psychologist, ecologist all together in one group. And we decided to study why societies adopt green technologies. Remember, the solar, the panel in the deep ocean, all of that. And we compared that study, little small Aruba, little Teddy, flying around there, small, only about 15 inches long, big left foot, always laughing. We compared that to studies conducted in Europe, the Netherlands, Italy, Russia, France, Sweden. And guess what we found in that study? Why does humanity adopt technology? It is not the push of technology, ladies and gentlemen, but it's the pull of that technology. When society decides to adopt and to change its lifestyles and to dig deeper and change its habits of what it's doing, only then will technology lead to a solution. Technology by and of itself does not have any intrinsic value. It is the usage, and very often misusage, that leads to destruction of society. What we learned, interesting enough, except for the T for technology, let's move on to the entertainment factor of TEDx Binnenhof, is that when society, when human beings are entertained, when they're excited, and when they're enjoying something, that's when behaviors start to change. It's when we tickle a little value called hedonistic values, the excitement, the enjoyment, the entertainment factor that needs to take place. History teaches us many lessons, not to be repeated, but it does teach us one thing. In the 1990s, when technology was implemented, the era of pre-internet and pre-Skype, it was very tough to do that. It was the pre-social media. The technology existed. But guess what Google, Facebook, and Apple figured out? If you can trigger those basic human values of inspiration, connectivity, society will adopt that technology and use that technology. Now, we're still very far away from the excitement of social media and all the apps we have to the excitement and apps of green technologies. But we're heading that way. Technologies are becoming easily more accessible. But if, ladies and gentlemen, if we are to design the future, I'm going to get to the D of TEDx Binnenhof, then we need to have a reference point towards the future, not towards the past. Lessons are to be learned from the past, but to create the future, we need to imagine the future. Now, Einstein once said that we cannot solve our problems with the same level of thinking that created them. I see everybody going, yes. I say no. Here's the challenge with Einstein's proposition. We cannot solve our problems with the same level of thinking at which level we created them. The challenge with Einstein's proposition is the thinking. You see, sustainability is not about technology. It is not even about rationality. God help us all that in our collective irrationalities, we've destroyed more nature on this planet, and we know more about sustainability. All right? So sustainability, ladies and gentlemen, the solution is not technology, it's not rationality. It is not the thought. It is not the logic of the solution. It is the love of the solution. It is not the thought, but the feeling, the emotions, the pleasures, the excitement that we put to that. Human beings respond to two things: pain and crisis, and pleasure and excitement. Now, through crisis, countries can change, humanity can change. But guess what happens when the price of oil goes down again? We keep on driving like nobody business. Prices go up, we squawk like a seagull. And then we go driving around again. But when society, when humanity enjoys a new habit, a new behaviors, that is when real sustainable change occurs. That is when you start creating sustainable happiness. So we need to move beyond the confines of the past, of thought. Look towards the future of what we are creating. Now, where does that happen? As TEDx Binnenhof would say, X marks the spot. And the spot, ladies and gentlemen, is not here. It is inside here. We create a future because we love that future. Not because of who we are. Not because of the size of our car, the size of our house, or the size of our wallet. But because we want to leave a future for our children. You can strip a man of everything. But you strip a man of his children, you're touching the core of why he exists. And if we as Aruba 2020, if we want to be a role model to the world, out there as a small island, and I believe we can, then, ladies and gentlemen, we need to be a role model here, at home, amongst ourselves. It is not that we teach our kids how to count in schools. My next speaker will elaborate on education. We teach them how to count, but do we really teach them what counts in life? When my son was recently asked at school, what do you want to be when you grow up? You know what he said? He wants to be a Minecrafter to build a better world. You can Google Minecraft afterwards. The teacher looked at him and he said, "Son, you do not understand the assignment." My son looked at the teacher and said, "You do not understand the meaning of life." While we may plant a seed in the minds of people, and it will surely stir their inspiration and stir ideas and imagination for the future, it is only when we plant a seed in the hearts of our people, in the hearts of our children, and make them believe that they can become the Minecrafters and they can build that better world, it is only then, ladies and gentlemen, that we will have developed a sustainable future for our kids. Thank you very much for your attention. Do enjoy.